Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the TV Central podcast. I'm Aaron Ryan. Nice to have your company. We have a returnee guest in Luke Jacobz, host of the Seven Network's The X Factor, which is gearing up for the grand final across two big nights, Monday, November 21st and Tuesday, November 22nd. Luke, thanks for coming back for a chat.
My pleasure. How are you doing today?
Very good. Look, the series has been huge. When we first chatted at the start of the series, it did open very well, but those numbers did actually hold across the entire series, ranging from around 1.3 to 1.5 million an episode, which in this current environment is a strong number. What have you attributed the success to, which is certainly up from season one?
Look, it's definitely up from season one. Look, we've had, the obvious factors, we've had a couple of changes of judges. So, that might have sparked a little bit of interest, but, just having a difference on the panel. Obviously with Mel B, you've got very spice elements of Spice Girl. There's not a lot of people in the world that don't know the Spice Girl, so a lot of people do like to tune in to get to see her. And of course, we've got Nat Bass, who's been on our televisions and radios for years as well. So she's a icon that everyone knows and loves as well. So it's a pretty good combination this year, having both two girls and two guys for our judges. Look, I think a lot of times too is when you're going into a second series, people know what to expect from this series. Whereas this last year, people didn't really know what to expect. Was it just another singing show? What was it different? And, our ratings started to get a little bit better towards the end of last year, and then this year we started off pretty strong, and it's stayed strong. So we're stoked.
Well, one, I guess it's a slight criticism, but it's a backhanded compliment as well. I noticed that every single week they have the results show and the bottom two are revealed, and it seems to be like a massive controversy from the judges that they could never believe that this would be the bottom two. The Australian public are not voting for the stars because they think they might be safe, etc. However, I was just wondering, it seems that they would say that regardless of who's in the bottom two. The way I kind of have seen it is the competition is so strong that anyone leaving would be a real loss. I mean, how do you see it?
Look, there was a couple of times where the bottom two, and I like to look at the judges, reactions when the bottom two are announced. And there's been a couple of times where, they say, look, no one deserves to be in the bottom two because, they want everyone to stay in the competition all the time because the judges get to know the contestants so well. So they obviously want everyone to go. But there's been a couple of times where there might have been one or two that were in the bottom two, but their performances the night before weren't as strong as the others. So it was almost, I think they were saying, that everyone deserves to be in the competition, trying to be nice to the contestants that are in the bottom two. But there was a few of them that did make the bottom two that really they're not the performance the night before, did sort of it did mirror that a little bit. So that may be why. But a lot of times, look at the public vote, and I think we had a big shock a few weeks ago when there was Christina and Reece in the bottom two, and they were favourites from week one, week two. Everyone was talking about them, and they were all over the media. And when the two of them actually made that bottom two, that was a big shock for everyone. I think a lot of people felt that they didn't need to vote for those two because they were, the popular ones, and so they don't need to vote for them because they'll be safe. But it was good because it was, a bit of a blessing in disguise because it meant that everyone that did want to keep them in the competition then realised that you can't just sit there and think, oh, why are they in the bottom two? If they haven't voted, they've got to vote. So I think it was a good little wake up to everybody to have two of the favourites in the bottom two.
Yeah, that certainly was a surprise. That took my bets off. I thought Christina and Reece would be in the top three, so that was a big week. Let's go to the final decider. The Three Wishes were eliminated. They were a bit wobbling when they first came in the competition, and then have stormed back the last few weeks with really strong contenders. How's Ronan going with the loss, and do you think they were robbed of a spot in the finale?
Look, I think if you're in the top five, I think if you've got that far, then it's hard to be robbed. But it's one of those things. Three Wishes had been together. I think it was about a month before they auditioned for the show, so there wasn't a great deal of. They hadn't worked with each other. They hadn't had a lot of stage presence with each other. They were friends that decided to start singing together. So I think as the weeks went on and working with Ronan, that's of course any time you're practicing something and you start to get good at it, So they did start to get very good. I mean, same with Johnny. Johnny came in as everyone was thinking, why is he here? And there was the first couple of weeks where, and he's the first to admit it, he'd say, I'm not the strongest singer in the competition. But, he's the one that's got the most heart in wanting to improve the most because he realised that he was at the bottom of the vocal contenders for the competition. So, having him now in the top three, I think it's great because it shows that, the more he practices and the better he's getting. In the last 2 weeks, he has been phenomenal. I think unfortunately for Three Wishes, I just don't think Australia were ready for a group to come out of this. I think everyone still likes to back one person. And a lot
Mm.
of times when you are watching a show like this, you vote for one person because you know that one person. With Three Wishes, it's hard to get to know everyone because there's three of them. You can't, get to know everyone as much as you do of the solo guys. So I thought they did fantastic to get this far, and honestly, to go in the top four, they should be pretty stoked for that. But look, I would have liked to have seen them in the final. But in saying that, I can't really put them above anyone else that's in the final. So it's a hard call.
All right, well, top three now, Reese, Andrew, and Johnny. Let's briefly chat about them. Reese first, I guess. There is no denying well, he's the front runner, great voice, real talent. Just tell me about him in terms of his personality. I mean, it does seem to come across that he puts a lot of pressure on himself, and if he gets some criticism, he takes it to heart, perhaps more than others. He also seems to put everything, really into his performances. Is any of that right? What's he like behind the scenes?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, he is 16. He's a kid, so it's the sort of thing that Andrew's been performing on stages for longer than Reese has actually been alive. So he's obviously got more confidence. And look, I think that the pressure that Reese was feeling was, I don't think it was originally him putting pressure on himself. I think it was the other pressure saying because he's the one. He's amazing. He does it every single time where. For a kid, all the stuff, everybody just praised every word that came out of his mouth, every note that he hit, and he got praised. Then he had one song that wasn't as good, and I think the last thing he wanted was to take a step back because he's always been one of the guys everyone talked about. So yeah, I must have been. I mean, any criticism, if anyone gives you any sort of critique on whatever you do in life, it's sometimes hard to take. But then when you're doing it in front of all these cameras and in front of people in the audience and you hear the people watching, you think, everyone just watched me almost in trouble, and that's what he was feeling. And it would be after some weeks of being praised. So, it's the hardest thing to think about being in a competition. The pressure is to stay the front row, to keep the front row. So, that may have got to him. I don't think it was the pressure that made him change that song. I think maybe it was the song choice or just the song style.
Sure.
I thought he did fantastic at it. So it just depends on which angle you look at it.
Well, Andrew now, isn't he a surprise package? I mean, I thought he might have been a one-hit man at the start, but every week he comes back with strong performances. What's he like behind the scenes?
No, he's great. I get along really, really well with Andrew. We because basically where all the judges' dressing rooms are, they're past my room, so I walk past each time. And he's a father. His kids are his life, and his wife, and moving away from that, I think that's what's pushed him as well. Look, he's just an all round, really lovely guy. It's great when we're doing rehearsals, just because of the maturity of him as well. Is when we're rehearsing around, and a lot of the guys, because there's a lot of waiting around. There's a lot of standing around while they're checking lights, or they're checking sound, or they're checking wardrobe, or they're checking microphones, all these bits and pieces. And I think Andrew just sort of knows that this is what got to do to make a show. So he just sits down and he waits to be told where he's got to go and bits and pieces. With the younger guys, they muck around, but there is a lot of waiting around. So I can kind of understand why that would when they start to get fidgety. But look, Andrew's great. He's not. I think the good thing about him is he's not singing for himself, so much. Like it's not just for him that he's doing it. He's doing it for his family. So he's sort of, he's singing from six hearts, not just the one. It's not just coming from him. So, but he's just a bloody great guy. I think would be the best way to describe it.
All right, and Johnny, we touched on this. I mean, do you consider his place in the grand final controversial at all? I mean, not the strongest voice, been in the bottom two, and seems to get, I suppose, some votes on his charm and looks and stuff like that, or is that too harsh?
Look, I think it's a combination of everything. At the start, when he made the bottom two, the reason we have a bottom two and the reason we have a Sing for Your Life is it's one of those things that can you sing under pressure? This could determine whether you stay or not. And both times he's come out and he's just been fantastic. So it's that thing of him going, no, I do want this, I can get this. And I mean, if you look back at his first audition, the judges went, well, you can't really sing, but you know what, you've got a bit of move, you've got a bit of, you've got a bit of swagger about you, you're okay. And he's just gotten better and better. This is coming from a guy that's never had a singing lesson or never had a dancing lesson. So, you can just imagine what's going to happen is if he does, he's made it through the final. If he does win this, he's going to get a lot of coaching and a lot of vocal training, which if you've seen from the first audition to now, it's already made such a huge difference. And look,
Sure.
I think good on him. I think good on him for making it there because, at the beginning it was like, oh, you're not that good, and people were voting for him, and the girls are voting for him because he moves and he's charming and he's a good-looking kid. So, they do like to vote for that. But I think, the last 3 weeks, I'm glad they did vote for him because we actually saw now how much better he's gotten. And then you think, I wonder how much better it's going to get in another 6 months' time or in another 12 months' time, So, look, I think it's great. I like that it's controversial. I like that he wasn't the best runner at the start because,
Mm.
it shows that, okay, what if you get 10 weeks of mentoring by, the best judges in the world? What if you get that mentoring? What if you work with Square Division and get choreography and styling? And, and that's a perfect example of, you weren't the number one at the time, but he's flying at the moment. He's doing really well. And like we say every week, he's the hardest worker out of all of them because he's that determined, to get better and to do this. And, I think he's going to get superstar. So, he's great.
Well, be great on the finale. With that final performance show, what can you tell us about the contestants' performance? Is it 3 songs each, and will they be doing a favorite or a judge's choice? How does the final performance work?
Do you know what, to be honest with you, they haven't actually told me yet. I believe what they're going to be singing is, we've got 3 contestants, 3 special guests coming through. We've got Colin Minogue, The Fray, and Salt and Pepper. Now, it was hard to determine who was going to sing what with who because we didn't know who was going to be in the final. Because this show is legitimately live, and it's legitimately down to the people's votes that go through. We didn't know until all the votes were counted on the Tuesday afternoon to know who was actually in and who was out. So, when I was in the studio last, they were still working on what it was going to be. But I know they're definitely going to do a solo performance. They are also going to be one act will be singing with one of them each. And so, yeah, look, it could be, it could be any of them. But I do know that there's going to be at least 2 performances, but then they might have another group performance. I'm pretty sure that we're going to get some other guests, like maybe some favourites of the competition so far. We're going to get all of the top 12 back, so we're going to have another group performance by then, so we get to see everyone again. And look, it's going to be, it's just going to be a lot of performance over both the shows. So what they put on the first show and what they put in the second show, I've got to leave up to the writers and producers. So.
And what else can we expect? You did mention at the end of the last episode there would be some hometown visits as well, so I guess they'll be airing too?
Yes, absolutely. All the contestants have been flown that have made it to the final. Have been flown back to their hometown. 3 Wishes were the only ones that were in the top 4 that were actually from Sydney. So Andrew's from Melbourne. He actually hasn't been home from his hometown. He's seen his family, his immediate family throughout the competition, I think once or twice. But he hasn't been to his hometown, nor has Johnny or Reese. So Reese will be going back to Adelaide, Johnny back to Perth, and Andrew going down to Melbourne. So he'll go back there and give a performance for their local town or city. And just sort of to see how their families are faring up and see them, in the flesh before they go into the almighty grand final.
All right, last couple of questions. This is, I guess, the best word to put it would be a blooper. Now, look, on the results show that's just aired, at one stage you were hosting, and Mel B was sort of poking you and shouting out to you. It was actually hard to note unless you were watching carefully, and it was quite brief. And my guess is that your hosting has always been professional, and you don't let any little distractions put you off. I thought maybe she was doing that as a way as fun to put you off to see if you'd flinch. But during that little segment, you did not flinch, move, or take any notice. What was happening there, or did I read into that too much?
No, look, that's exactly what happened. She doesn't have anyone in the competition anymore, so she's getting bored. she doesn't get to introduce anyone, and Mel and I have become extremely good friends, and we hang out away from work as much as we do at work. So yeah, she likes to have a little bit of fun. She often sort of says, look, she said, I don't know how you do it, how you can focus with all this stuff going on, and because we had a few weeks ago, we had a siren going off, and there's been a pyrotechnic go off in the middle of the hosting that just sort of happened, or someone shouts at things, and she always says, I don't know how you can stay focused And I said to her, Mel, it doesn't matter what you do. I said, I know I've got nothing, it doesn't all revolve around you, Mel, so I've got my job to do. And yeah, she tries to poke me, she tries to distract me, but she likes to have a little bit of fun. She's a stirrer, you know, she's just got that humour in her. So, look, it's just, they didn't know, I didn't know she was going to do it. She just, you know, it's like television, and if she wants to do it, she just, she does it and she gets away with it. So, that's all in good fun.
Yeah. Now I know you want to keep neutral, so I won't ask who you want to win, but can you at least say, you know, I suppose based on voting trends and how you're feeling the public is voting, who do you think will win?
Well, Andrew's the only one that hasn't been in the bottom two so far. So, yeah, like you've already pointed out, I'm not going to say any of my favourites because, you know, I don't want in my way in any way to you know, change anyone's mind or to steer anyone in a different direction. But if you just look at the stats, Johnny's been in the bottom two twice. Reese has been in the bottom two once, and Andrew hasn't been in the bottom two at all. So, you know, it really depends. It depends on the performances, and you know, some people have made their mind up. And even friends of mine had made their mind up through the competition who they wanted to win. And you know, there was a while ago they were saying, you know, YMS, they're the best, and I absolutely wanted to win. They did a performance one night, and Three Wishes did a performance, and they rang up and said, we've changed our mind. We after that performance, no, we really want, you know, Three Wishes to win. So. People might have made their mind up that they either want Johnny or Reese or Andrew to win, but it depends on the performances they do on the Monday night, and if that could change a lot of people's minds. So, looking at the stats, Andrew's the only one that hasn't been in the bottom two, but then again, you know, weirder things have happened.
Mm. Well, I guess last question before you go, do you know if 2012 is all locked in? Is the show coming back? Are you coming back?
Nothing's been officially locked in yet. I think it's a lot of because there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, obviously with the judges, they're international stars, so depending on how their careers are going too, because they might want to be touring or you know record more albums and that sort of stuff. So we've just got to wait for them, basically. I've been asked if I'm available next year, but you know I've been asked if I'm available for films and bits and pieces, so it really doesn't mean anything. But I guess we'll just have to see how the ratings go, how the network likes it, how the audience appreciate it, and we'll go from there. But look, it's a great show, and if it finishes this year, it's been a fantastic two series, and I've had an absolute ball. But if it goes ahead next year, then I'm just as thrilled.
Well, Monday and Tuesday are going to be awesome. You will no doubt top 2 million. The excitement's building. Good luck and looking forward to it. Thank you, Luke, for being on the podcast.
My absolute pleasure. I'll speak to you very soon.
Okay, Luke Jacobz, host of the X Factor there, with a big grand final over 2 nights, Monday and Tuesday, November 21st and 22nd on Channel 7, of course. Can't wait. That's all from this podcast. Until the next one, I'm Aaron Ryan for tvcentral.com.au. See you then.